Thank you, Philip. I actually agree with quite a lot of what Philip said, so I'll just kind of give my broad overview of the situation and also maybe push back on just a couple of Philip's points. And those won't really be deep disagreements so much as points of emphasis, and I think that's what I have is a different time horizon, a different sense of what's possible necessarily in the short term. I would say that overall there is some good news, and the good news is that Trump doesn't have a mandate. The bad news is that there's still a chance he could develop. So I think what we've seen in the Trump administration is kind of a lesson in Marxist state theory, kind of. So you see basically that capitalists are using a series of carrots and sticks with the Trump administration. So if you want to know what Trump proposal or one thing that's leaked or proposed will be pushed through and made into law and what won't, you should just think about, not to put it so crassly, but what's in the interest of dominant business interests in this country. So in other words, it's not that all of a sudden the US capitalist class has become a lot more racist and xenophobic in particular than they used to be. In fact, I think there hasn't been much of a shift at that ideological level in the US capitalist class. What happened is now there's an agent administrator of the state that happens to have these views. So when it comes to, let's say, the Trump administration talking about adding a 20% tax on imports coming in from Mexico, that's something that is not acceptable to a lot of capitalists who have already kind of set up their production process in such a way, and they have the value chain set up in such a way that this would be completely disastrous to enough capitalists and be a bad enough precedent that I don't think we'll see that happen. Now, when it comes to something like the refugee ban, now, even if a lot of individual capitalists might disagree with the ban on certain humanist, ethical considerations and whatnot, are they actually willing to put up a fight against administration for something that is of no material consequence or interest to their businesses or corporations? So, no. So in other words, I think you'll see certain Trump measures that are quite reactionary and vital being pushed through, other reactionary measures being stopped, but the bottom line is kind of what's in the interest of this capitalist class. So there is some autonomy here in the Trump administration. He's not directly getting his orders from elites, but they're trying to work with the administration. They're trying to encourage some behavior, like some of the pro-Wall Street policies, but discourage some of the other kind of more protectionist plans of Trump's proposal. And even though there's divides in the capitalist class between those who would benefit from some of these protections and those who, the dominant interests that would not. Now, then the Trump administration has this extra problem. How do you now reconcile this very delicate balance they're trying to have between their agenda and the agenda of the dominant business interests in this country? Then on the other hand, how do you now deal with a base that has high expectations, or at least expectations for things to get done? Trump throughout the campaign, yes, he portrayed himself as a racist, a sexist, a xenophobe, and all that, but he also portrayed himself as someone who would roll up his sleeves and get things done. So I think a lot of his supporters just, want to see the government in action in some form. They want to see some sort of vaguely both redistributive and exclusionary measures, and they're not getting what they asked for. If you look at the Trump care disaster, if you look at the actual infrastructure bill pushed through by the Trump administration, these are things very much at odds with this rhetoric. Now, again, I don't think Trump's necessarily lying about this. As I say, I don't think Trump's lying. Of course he's a liar, but on this issue, I think it's mostly a problem of his agenda being influenced and shaped, and then him having to negotiate this already compromised agenda with Paul Ryan and the business Republicans and whatnot. So all this is to say that the Trump administration has a degree of credibility still among its base, but even that to begin with was a minoritarian mandate. Trump was the third choice of voters. He was a choice behind people not voting at all, which is what most American workers do. Not out of apathy, but out of the common sense that voting for the last 4 or 5 times hasn't changed much. Maybe I'll sit this one out, especially if I don't even get the day off. or voting for Hillary Clinton. Now, the problem is we could actually imagine a scenario where a populist government is able to build a mass base and is able to, even the Trump administration now, build a deep mandate. So for example, what if Trump actually pursued a very aggressive infrastructure plan that actually involved the kind of deficit financing that Steve Bannon and the smarter people in his administration wanted? And what if you reconcile this with the interests of the Republican Congress by saying that a lot of this work would be done through public-private partnerships? It's not outside the realm of possibility. It could still mean an immediate stimulus to the economy and an immediate drop in unemployment and all these other things that would cement more of a social base. And especially because Trump's agenda has primarily been one that's been, of course, racist, like every Republican administration for the past, decades and decades, but has been primarily xenophobic. You could actually imagine Trump maybe, through these programs, winning over a base of, to the black working class community, from getting around 10% of the vote to getting 20, 25, which doesn't sound like a lot. It isn't a lot, but it would be enough to cement what was essentially a fluke electoral victory into something more concrete. So unless we actually, see these possibilities and see these trends, and I think we might fall into the trap of complacency and basically just saying, this is a bumbling administration with no support. He's offending so many groups in the country that demographically, it just is hard to contemplate how he survives and wins in 2020. I think, again, we might be falling to the trap of underestimating Trump. I was on camera plenty of times last year saying there was no chance of Trump getting elected, so I have a bit more pause now. Now, essentially, though, what we have is we have kind of a divide between a discredited and disliked center that doesn't seem to be able to offer any sort of moral and ethical vision for people. Like Philip said, Trump said, make America great again. Hillary Clinton said, America's already great. And Hillary Clinton's other main appeal was, I've been in politics for 30 years. So the past 30 years have seemed pretty miserable for you. And if you don't like politicians and you don't think America's already great, I'm just saying it's not the best appeal. I think a socialist response would be just to kind of split the difference and say we're going to make America great, full stop. We won't answer any questions about where the supposed greatness was before. But then we also have this dangerous right, and when I say right in this discussion, I'm talking more about the populist right. There are also fringe elements in the far right that are becoming emboldened. I think these elements are already dangerous now, but they're going to become far more dangerous when we actually politically defeat the populist right, if we do. And a segment of this kind of defeated base is radicalized again. And then we have a somewhat emerging left, and I think we should qualify kind of the extent to this emergence and its strength. So, when I look at this situation in the country, I kind of just, at least, I pitch myself because I'm like, Donald Trump is president, which again I didn't anticipate, but also thank God for Bernie Sanders. Now, I say this because, can you imagine a scenario where you had just the Hillary Clinton Center represented in American politics, and then you had this new kind of like bumbling populist right, and you had nothing else on offer. And everyone on the left who opposed the kind of xenophobic right was then told, well, you should kind of band together with this liberal, multicultural center because it's the only alternative. I think that would be a nightmare scenario. And Bernie Sanders at least demonstrated that there is, in fact, not a notional one, but an immediate potential for a social majority in this country around social democratic values. We shouldn't overstate what his campaign demonstrated, but it at least demonstrated that. It demonstrated that a narrative that tells the people that, you work hard and you're getting screwed, and we know the people responsible for you not having enough of the things you deserve. And it's not minorities, it's not immigrants, it's the millionaires and billionaires, like Bernie said. That message we saw does have popular resonance. And to a certain extent, if our goal was to make that message a majority, I think we have a better starting point now than if we were kind of the Steve Bannons of the world trying to craft a majority around an ethno-nationalist politics. Doesn't mean that we'll win and they'll lose, but it does mean that as a starting point, I think to win an electoral majority, we already have that potential, that head start. it's obviously more difficult to actually legislate social democratic reforms. I think we're very, very far away from the social base to do that. But as far as winning people over to the broad idea, I think we're close to being there. I don't want to echo verbatim what Philip said, because I agree with what he said completely when it relates to the question of this kind of idea that we all need to unite. Everyone who's not Donald Trump, in other words, in this narrative, should be fighting Donald Trump. And I think Philip, got into a lot of the pitfalls of this approach. I mean, you see, like, liberals literally holding up George W. Bush as, like, a model, as, like, a good one. It almost reminds me of, like, I don't know, you see, like, a Erwin Rommel or something? You see, like, yeah, it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad. Like my favorite History Channel documentaries growing up were the World War II ones, and the History Channel really loved Rommel. And I was like 8, and all I knew from my parents were, of course, Indian and Trinidadian. The British are bad, so I was like, oh, this is the good guy. I was like, liberated when I actually read a book a year later. So then the question is basically, I put this kind of to say that in a certain way, our primary enemy, I shouldn't use the word primary, but one of our main enemies and focuses of attack needs to be this neoliberal center. One, because this neoliberal center is weak at the moment. It's been discredited, and a lot of the people who are its natural voters are actually looking for alternatives, and we need to provide alternatives. Now, when I say this, it isn't to say this is kind of a third period, social democracy or something that I'm proposing. What I'm saying is that we need to actually make sure that this leadership and establishment class of the Democratic Party is separated as much as possible from the base. So we don't tell people who voted for Hillary Clinton, you were wrong, you helped cause Trump, blah, blah, blah. But we do say that, the inadequate answers of Hillary Clinton, this mode and style of politics, this platform, this kind of mix of essentially, basic neoliberal politics mixed in with rhetoric of social inclusion completely failed. And instead we want to, pose a different, I was going to say different alternative. I feel like you guys have just monopolized two words I haven't used a lot. I was like, when I say, we need a social alternative, by the way, I don't want to throw Philip into like existential crisis or something. I just want, I mean lowercase s, lowercase a. I know you go to socialsalternatives.org. No, I lost my train of thought. I'm not sure if there was one there to begin with, but essentially it is to say that we need to be telling these people that in fact, if you share these values and concerns will lead someone to oppose Donald Trump, including in the ballot box, then you should be looking at our politics and our ideas. That's it. Now, we need to combine, in other words, a very hard, aggressive stance against the Democratic establishment with the willingness to work with other people. And I often think about the example of the communists in the 1930s and other groups on the left in American history that have actually managed to establish something close to that mass base. When we could disagree with their actual politics and what they did with this mass base, but they were embedded deeply in American society. And the way their politics is often described is hard in the center and soft on the edges. So in other words, they were rigorously trained, they were Marxists, they knew kind of what they stood for, what they wanted and whatnot, but they were always willing to work within broader organizations. They were always willing to work within broader fronts. And often they didn't do this as often a kind of what Irving Howe used to call it brilliant masquerade, right? Just kind of in the most opportunistic and short-term kind of ways, but they did develop a base. Now I think increasingly, and the danger with some aspects of the kind of new young left emboldened by Bernie Sanders, is that many of us are kind of soft at the core, still have like fairly undefined politics, which again is perfectly natural and fine for someone first getting engaged with politics, but also have that combined with kind of unremitting hostility to people not immediately where we're at. So, I like to say that I would assume that I'm probably much nicer to Hillary Clinton supporters than people like maybe a step and a half to my right, but that's not, me kind of slowly drifting towards the right. Though, you know, I am pretty broke, so if anyone has any job offers, I'll listen. You know, it is, I think, in this spirit. And I think that's very important. But fundamentally, I think we need to conceive of this as a sword and shield situation where we're guarding against Trump. But we recognize that unless we dislodge the center, and unless we become the main opposition to Trump, then this cycle is going to continue over and over again. And we can look at the situation in France, where you have the only major visible anti-establishment force at the national level is now the populist right. And this is a country with probably a worse than populist right, an almost quasi-fascist right. And this is a country with, of course, a very deep tradition on the left. And this happened because of a politics of kind of short-term, looking for like anyone who can defeat the very worst person in the room, without articulating kind of our own independent politics. And I think this is a real danger in the age of Trump. When any opposition, if you even mention Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or anyone else's name today, it's often seen as you're doing a disservice to the fight against Trump. I think we need to make the argument clearly that, in fact, we're doing the opposite. We're laying the groundwork for our politics to not only defeat Trump, but Trumpism. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll conclude by talking briefly about the situation on the socialist left. Obviously, you know, I think things are going relatively well on the socialist left. I like to say that it's probably the best time to be a socialist since the 1970s. The bad news is that it's also not a very good time to be a socialist in the U.S., just because, it never really is. DSA, when I joined it, had maybe 5,000 members or so. I joined about 10 years ago. The first meeting I went to in New York City had about 4 or 5 people at it. It was a pretty depressing experience. It took me about a year to do my next one. Now today, obviously, DSA has 20,000 members. This, though, I think we should be happy about this, but we should also recognize the extent to which it's kind of a media event, right? So this is people joining DSAs in ones and twos as a result of a ballooned and inflated profile in kind of liberal media outlets. It's a result of just, people being recruited in ones and twos on the internet. That's not to say it's a bad thing, it's just to say this is our starting base, and we should acknowledge how we kind of got to this point. What it means is that it only kind of reinforces what's become a divide on the left in almost 3 parts, right? And even the way people discuss it, not even thinking about it. People talk about the socialist left, then they talk about social movements, then they talk about the working class. This is obviously a sign of an atomized left without much of an organic social base. It doesn't mean that many of us can come from working class, backgrounds. It does mean that, I came from a working class, family, an immigrant family, but the reason why I kind of found the left and became a socialist because I had plenty of time to read and I was on a university track. So, I kind of discovered it when I was on my way out of the working class. I think many people either do that, or nowadays, I would imagine sociologically, a lot of these new recruits to socialist left are kind of on their way down from the professional middle class when they kind of graduate from college with lots of debt and little job opportunities and whatnot. So all this is to say we need some sort of politics of implantation. So instead of having these 3 separate silos, we're in fact building a working class movement that's actively engaged in day-to-day struggles and produces socialist leaders. It's easier said than done, but I think some of what capital S, capital A, Socialist Alternative did in Seattle was a good step in that direction. Partially because they took a small group of people in Seattle, and they were able to do a campaign that not only built the profile of their organization, but built the profile of socialist politics, gave an excuse to actually talk to working people, knock on their doors, canvass, and do these other things. And I think it's a very important model for DSA and for others. There's a whole network also of worker centers, immigrant rights centers, existing organizations that are going on. But I think the key is to get our politics as far away from just kind of the campus as possible and more deeply rooted in working class life. And it's easier said than done, but it does mean that we're not happy or content, or say that we're growing the movement, because it's better to have, 15, 20,000 people very well positioned than, 50,000 people who are just meeting and just almost participating in the creation of a subculture instead of the start of working class organizing. I would also say there's certain dangers and pitfalls to that approach. Just like in social movements, there's the danger of NGOism and its ties to the Democratic Party. There's the danger of electoralism that comes from political racism. But if you foreground your platform, if you foreground your ideology, and you're clear about what you're trying to do, you're trying to create an alternative politics over the course of 10, 20 years, and not just immediately trying to usher in kind of a set of policies, even though, of course, we agree with the fight for day-to-day reforms and policies, I think we'd be in a better position. And I wrap up by saying that, when I say we need to do this implementation, we need to combine it with a sense of political education. We need to take people who are coming to these organizations, we need to expose them to a vision of politics, socialist history, and all these other things. In a way, of course, it isn't doctrinaire, but in a way that gives people a grounding. It gives them a grounding to improvise, right? So I would conclude by saying that someone beforehand, in front of one of the tables, said that, it's great that the left is, less sectarian now. And they were commenting just on the fact that, it's like an ISO table, social alternative table, a DSA table, right there. And in general, lots of people on the left identify, first and foremost, as socialists, then with their respective organizations. Of course, I agree. I couldn't disagree with something like that. But there's a difference between new recruits to the left being non-sectarian, just out of ignorance, and non-sectarian out of choice. In other words, I think it's important that people actually talk about political debates and where they disagree with each other. They actually have arguments. They actually, are able to have these things, but then still are able to have a unity in, actually doing day-to-day action and actually working together on causes and whatnot. Then we will find out which one of these kind of tactical and strategic divides are kind of fake or just intellectual. What year the Russian Revolution went wrong. We talked about this last night. I said 1919 because I'm a reformist, but at least I didn't say 1917. But and which of these are actually deeply rooted in kind of our day-to-day lives and are things we have to resolve if we're going to work together. The final thing, I'll leave the rest for Q&A. I have some disagreements with Philip's time horizon, but as far as a broad sketch of what should happen, we're on the same page, which I think is a good start.